Good morning. Yeah, so may I request you all to settle down, please? Hope you had a wonderful time yesterday. Yeah, people sitting in the back seats, can I request them to come to the front, please? Good morning. Yes. So it was lovely to see some people walking in the morning, some people, using the pool. Lovely weather. This is a lovely morning. So we are going to also start in a very good fashion this morning. It's a pleasure that Mr. V.S. Parthasarthi is amongst us this morning, and he will address us shortly. So before we do that, I would just like to give a small introduction. So Mr. V.S. Parthasarthi, he is the Group CFO, the Group CIO, President, Group Finance and M&A, member of the Group Executive Board, Mahindra and Mahindra Limited. Can I have a big round of applause for him, please? Mr. V.S. Parthasarthi, fondly known as Partha, is a man of multiple thinking hats and a global leader. In his role as Group CFO for Mahindra and Mahindra Limited and Group CIO, he facilitates Mahindra Group in accomplishing its vision of being amongst the top 50 most admired brands in the world. He is a member of the think tank of Mahindra Group's supervisory board called Group Executive Board. He is also on board of 15 group companies. Partha started his career with Modi Xerox as a management trainee, and before he joined Mahindra and Mahindra in 2000, he was associate director at Xerox. At M&M, he spearheaded functions like finance, HR, M&A, IT, and international operations before he was appointed as CFO for Mahindra and Mahindra. He received many accolades and recognition, some notable awards being CFO Hall of Fame from CFO India in 2014 for lifetime contribution to the world of finance. CFO Manufacturing Sector at the 8th ICAI Awards 2014 by the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. CIOL Lifetime Achievement Award by CIOL's Exchange Enterprise Awards 2015. CFO Innovation Asia Award 2014 for Excellence in Mergers and Acquisitions. Best CFO Award 2012 by Business Today Yes Bank in the Enhancing Competitiveness Through M&As. Award for Innovation and Excellence for Treasury Transformation from TMI. Some of his key achievements, career achievements are being a key player in Mahindra USA journey from 1,000 to 10,000 tractors per annum as head FES, International Operations, Mahindra and Mahindra. Deal of the decade, global alliance between Mahindra and CIE, Automotive SA of Spain. He also spearheaded the implementation of ERP platform through Project Harmony for the group. He ideated and implemented the first ever Indian 50 years unsecured rated listed bullet bonds for rupees 500 crores. Partha is focused on professional excellence, continuous learning, and developing young talent within the group. He is passionate about building team spirit and encouraging innovations. Partha holds a bachelor's degree in commerce and is a fellow member of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. He is Harvard alumni of Advanced Management Program Batch 2011. Partha and his wife, Jayashri, live in Mumbai and are blessed with 2 sons. May I now request Mr. Parthasarthi to please come on the stage and address the Dr. Reddy's finance team, please.
Thank you, and very good morning to all of you. Am I audible from the back? Okay, thank you. I'm going to talk about a few things today. You got about 1.5 hours, and before I do, Jignesh, thank you very much, and so that's a long bio. We should find some way of cutting it to much shorter. Okay, it goes on and on. So, but I will tell my office to do that next time whenever I come out. I'm delighted, Somen, to be here today. Not only because I'm going to address such an august gathering as you. I'm delighted also because I'm addressing what is reputedly one of the best finance and accounts functions in the entire India. I'm not saying this because it's fashionable to do so. I never do follow any fashion statement. Okay, even this jacket is based to make up my personality a little better than to anything else. Yeah, so I'm not given to any extra. But really, when I talk to 3 of your directors and say, "Tell me something about Dr. Reddy," they say they're very good, and that. Ladies and gentlemen, deserves one more band before I get on to the topic of today. Thank you. So today so what do I teach the learned? What do I tell the people who have been doing it well already? So I thought I will kind of talk about when you are in a high pedestal, what do you need to do? When you are already there, what makes you tick? How do you want to go even higher? And I think that's the theme of maybe this program, and that's what Somen is trying to urge all of you, and I'll make my couple of remarks on this. But I also intend, Jignesh, please, after 1 hour, stop me, because I want the last half an hour to talk to you, to kind of engage in conversation, answer your question, talk about what matters to you, okay? And I'm not going to present on one subject, which is M&A, because if I do, the next 1 hour will be only spent on that. So I want you to ask me questions about mergers and acquisition, and we'll be more than happy to answer them. Is that a deal? Yeah, okay. So before I just jump into this, one thing I wanted to tell you is that what I'm going to talk is some of this is what I think is the view. Some of this is what we are practicing. So this is a combination of these two things, okay? So I'm going to talk a little bit about what is the world we are in. Everybody has told you, somebody even better than me, but I wanted to define you in my own way, what world are we living in? And then we will talk about some of the challenges of the CFOs, or the finance and accounts function faces today. Then I will talk about the changing role of CFOs. Then I've got something which is manta, yantra, and tantra, 3 Indian words. So I will define them. I'll define them as they go. And then finally, results always speak much louder than words. Okay. So that's for today from my side. So please stop me at any stage, ask questions. So I don't know how that happens, but if I see a hand going up even accidentally, I'll stop. So don't raise your hands, okay, unless you want to ask a question. If it's going to kind of do this, make sure that I notice it, so that I'll stop that. Okay, but jokes apart, this is what I wanted to share. So let's start. You all understand this term VUCA? No? Okay, some of you understand the term, okay. So those who understand, can they explain to the others what is VUCA? So can somebody kind of, raise who knows this term VUCA? Yeah, anybody who understands this term VUCA? Yeah, full form only. Rest I will tell you, na? Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Okay? Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity. What is happening? Lokamante speede. The speed is the name of the game. Everything is changing at a pace. At a side. It's absolutely like this. It's absolutely like this. We know what is this? This is the Space Mountain. Yeah, you are going tomorrow for some rides and stuff, no? Is there a Space Mountain there? Yeah? So I hope so, because you'll experience this if it is there. You know what is the good thing about Space Mountain, or what is interesting about Space Mountain? It goes to the left, it goes to the right. It goes on top, it takes you and then drops you. It goes smooth sideways. Yeah, it goes perpendicular. There are angles. Single split, double split, 360. It has everything. But what is most interesting about this is that it does that in absolute darkness. There's no light there. It's just absolutely dark. So this is the ride, ladies and gentlemen, you are in. And unfortunately, this ride may be there tomorrow or not, but I can assure you, this is the ride every day you're going to face for the rest of your lifetime. This is the ride we are in. It's going to. So one day somebody will say, you cannot sell this stuff in this country. Yeah, things will change dramatically. It's a space mountain out there, and that's why I think I can't define a better way, VUCA, than in one slide which is say, it's the space mountain ride for you. Okay? So what is the world today? Just a brief bit of description. The worldwide is a big oval. Yeah, it's like exactly what this gentleman is doing. Yeah, it always seems in movie they do it much better than in real life. No, they're always perfect. But that's the kind of ride. And let me tell you, you talked about some of the things that are happening. The China has structurally changed the world in the last few. So that's something that you're going to face. Yeah. We have heard about growing middle class in India, but there is a centralization of global wealth, and now they are talking about the shrinking middle class. We were just a year back, all of us were talking about the bulging middle class in India. Probably it still is, but globally, the middle class is shrinking. Europe under stress, and US economy is doing well. So I go back to anybody from US here? Yeah, anybody from US? So you need to repeat to everybody this. It's the 250-year-old advice. Go far west, young man, to America. Probably there is some bit of home there. So that's the kind of global scenario that you say. But not for people in India, by the way. You better be in Hyderabad. Okay? But this is where the world is going. Okay? So China. So when I look at China in the recent past, I keep remembering only one thing. That is, Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, and Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's men and king's horses can't put them together. So what China did, first trouble came. You can't sell your shares, Please make sure you don't sell. And then the market went down 200 billion. Yeah, so then they spent 250 billion to prop up that market. But still it wouldn't work. Then that Black Monday came, where they lost a ton and ton of money. And finally they cut interest rates to shore up some. My view is that the story is still unfolding. You will see some more. As they say in Hindi, milte hain break ke baad. There will be more story to come after the break. Yeah, so that's what China is doing. And European Union is like this bird on a ivy and trying to survive. EU is under stress. You heard about Greek exit. And I won't talk more about it because probably many of you know as much, if not more. There is also a debt crisis in the past 5 years, surviving on bailouts. Unemployment is greater than 25%. And debt is greater than 177% of this. Quite a troubling scenario on one sense. And then you have countries like Russia, Ukraine, etc., which are into some bit of problem. Anybody from Russia and Ukraine? There are some hands out there. There is certain bit of trouble, isn't there? Yeah? But this too shall pass. Recovery story of this countries overall is intact. Leading growth indicators say so. So at some point, there will be growth in Europe, but today it is in IV, it's in ICU and recovering slowly. Okay? And USA. Okay? So there are improving fundamentals. The problem with USA is there is improving fundamental, improving unemployment, everything is improving. Okay, I used to lead Mahindra USA, which is about a 500 million organization, and you know, we are growing more in US than anywhere else. Our growth last 1-2 years is 30% CAGR. Yeah, so but still the fundamentals seems to be topsy-turvy. Okay, so there is huge amount of pressure not to raise interest rates, and then will Fed bow to market pressure. Yeah, I don't have to answer you what did they do, because they bowed to market pressure, and now you don't have any raise to the rates. Okay, and now what is the new accelerator is refugees, and refugees are coming from everywhere into everywhere. We had our own set in Bangladesh, which was settled between Bangladesh and us. However, European, the boat people and the tunnel people are coming in, and Europe is struggling to understand what it is to do. And why am I talking about all this, and to come to India and say, all right, there are many things good happening in India. Investment demand is up, that's the only thing which goes on. Exporters should smile because rupee is good, but is it okay? Ease of doing business is easing, as they say, dheere dheere se meri zindagi mein aana. So not come very slowly to India, yeah? So ease of doing business will not happen very, very quickly, okay? And GST and land acquisition will come, it will come. And the rural demand is quite weak, okay? Growth forecast is quite good, and in spite of all that, you know, somebody told me, and Somen, one of these days we must have a nice chat about this. I said, no industry is doing well. How is the 7% growth coming? They told me that the demand side is not great, but the supply side is where everything is happening. So maybe Dr. Reddy is the one which is doing very well. But you know, there is quite a good growth forecast, and I think there are growth coming in from it. Monsoon still holds the key, and because monsoon has not done well this year, you're going to have some bit of concern which is going to come. Okay? So why did I say all this? I said all this not because I wanted to give you a lesson in what is happening around the world. You all know it. What I'm saying is how fast and how far are the change which is happening? How much are we impacted by it? None of the problem that I put to you is more than a year old. 1 year back we were talking about terrorism. Today we are talking about refugees. 1 year back we were talking about something else, that, you know, US, how fast and how much is going to grow. We didn't knew about a Greek crisis which was looming that large. So everything is changing dramatically, fast. It's like again going back to the VUCA world and Space Mountain. Yeah? And that's our scenario. How do we make bets? How do we make the right kind of things to do? How do we make decision making when it comes to project? All of this has challenges around what you saw. So challenges for F&A team. Okay, so this year, if it is not, everything else is not. I met the your company secretary, and I said, you are the only expert now. We don't know anything because the old Companies Act is not worth the paper it is written on. So now everybody is not, the newcomers are the expert. So suddenly, you know, earlier I used to say, look at page 166. Now there is no more. I said, you know, M&A section 391 to 394, where it is gone? Gone with the wind. So everything has dramatically changed now. So risk management, so these are all the things you're going to face. And honestly, I don't know whether anybody said, I'm telling my company, the next 12 months are going to be, and out of the 12 months, some months have already passed. It's going to be very, very tough. You got so many things coming. Ind AS you need to implement, the FEMA and RBI, related party, everything is got to be done within this space of time. And not only that, there are no precedents, and everything is changing even as we speak. So even they are not very clear. So some Ind AS, some rules will further change. Yeah, some accounting principles will come. So those are all the issues that you are having. And our biggest problem will always and always remain talent management. So this is an opportunity. Like I said, no more have we got to somebody can say, I know the Companies Act by the back of my hand. So similarly, there is a huge opportunity for young talent to come out and take position, pole position. We can strengthening the next level learning and development, job rotation, center of excellence. These are all challenges which comes around the talent. How are we going to do, how are we going to bring financial acumen in the next few days? So these challenges, the third part of it is how do you create value in this environment? And I will talk a little bit about what I feel F&A and finance function should do in this. But just look at GST. Does this give within India a manner for all companies which have a huge business in India to create new business model? How do we give thought leadership, or what are the new initiatives we do in finance and accounts in order to create value for stakeholders? Because with this, we will be in the forefront. Without this, we will lose our way. So that's the challenge and that's the opportunity that we have. So the key question that we have to ask is, are we prepared to handle challenges and business growth? Because one of the key things that will happen is India and companies like yours and mine will always have huge opportunities for growth, both organically and inorganically. But how do we make sure that we have that ability and are ready for that growth? And that's probably the biggest challenge that we have in front of us. So let me go in terms of the changing roles of CFO. Yeah, so this is a story I wanted to kind of talk about. I had joined M&M as an HR head for farm equipment sector, and that's the job I did. And then I came into finance and accounts function. Okay, I became the CFO of farm equipment sector. And we did an employee satisfaction survey, and the score was 2.5. 2.5 on a score on employee satisfaction in Gallup survey is considered to be very, very average and too poor. It was a poor score. And therefore, it was clear that employees were not happy. And I asked them, what's bothering you? And they said, boss, what happens is everybody is telling us how to run. And they tell us that, listen, business is run by business. You have no place here. You don't run things around here. Okay? So, and they also told that, listen, you're not understanding, you're not empathizing. When chips are down, you're not standing up. So I know that set me thinking that what is F&A function? What is finance function all about? What's the wajud? What is the reason for existence of this function? And it hit me, and then I coined this term called I do. So in a sense, if you look at an organization, if you look at big country, the prime minister, the cabinet, the chief ministers, all of them are sworn in, and they ask, do you uphold the constitution of this country, of this state, of this judiciary? And they all put up their hand and say, I do. This function, which you all represent, is the only function in any company where every time you walk into that door into the company, you put up your hand and say, I uphold the constitution of this company, I do. And I think that is the only, that's the only role, and that's the only thing which is given to this function, which no other function has. I've worked in HR, I've worked in head, I've been a CEO of a business, I've done all that. But none of the other function has this simple thing to say, I do. So that is the first part of that. So to the ladies and gentlemen, whenever anybody tells you, you please remember your first oath that you took as you walked in is to uphold this constitution of this company and whatever it stands for. And that's the first one of I do. And for that, ladies and gentlemen, you've been too silent for too long. Put up a good hand for yourself. And I want to hear a loud thing saying, I do. Yeah, so very good. So you all well trained by Soman in quality. I didn't have to ask again for a resounding thing. So that's the first thing about I do. The second thing is, you don't run things around here. And what do I reply? I do. I run things around here. I am a part of the organization which will push this organization and do. And the third one is, whenever somebody asks, are you willing to stand up and be counted? Then again, this is a function which must every time say, I do. And those are all the three facets of I do I wanted to put before you. Okay? And this is another story which my chairman emeritus, Mr. Keshav Mahindra, and I are having a conversation. And he kind of looked at some point and told me, Partha, what's the, you know what? You're the last man standing. And I was wondering what he mean. What he meant was that if anybody makes a mistake, you are there to correct, you are there to catch it, you are there to find that, and you are there to fix it. But if you make a mistake, there is nobody to check, there is nobody to counter. If between the enemy called good governance, bad governance, and the company, there is a last man standing or a last man standing here, and that's you as a function which is standing there. So I think this is something that we must never forget, that we are the last man standing. Okay, and before the women folk object to it, the man here only referred to money, authority, and need, and not only to men folk. Okay, so you are the last people standing, and make that count. Okay, so more and more, and this is because I have 140 companies that I run. I have 18 industries which we work in, and we have about 77 operating unique companies which does different kind of businesses. And I say that CFO is evolving as number 2 role, which is CFO de facto and de jure. Both, in name of the word, you are the number 2 in that organization, and therefore you must make this count. Okay, and now about the thing about what we should be doing in order to kind of look at. In phase 1, we talked about something called bean counters. Nothing wrong with it. You still do, I do. You still are the last man standing. It is very important. So that's what you did. And then as time went on, we became process managers. We knew about processes. We were better at processes than most. And that is what I call the 2.0 version of the evolution of F&A. Then came business partner. It's a very important phase. Yeah? Even today, if you ask what should a CFO, and then people will say it should be business partner. And that is in terms of decision support and analysis. And there, one of the key things is there that over and above accounts manager, over and above being a controller, over and above, you also are planning and analysis, and you did support, decision support, and you gave analytics and analysis to people. But it's my contention, the time has come for us to change gear. This is still 3.0 version. What I want you to go and look at is a 5.0 version, which is called the value managers. You do all the others which are said, you be business partner, you be process manager, you still be bean counters, because I think it's a great, important job. But you also get integrated functional excellence, which talks about being a counselor, talks about being value creator, and talks about being strategic decision support to the business. And when you are there, then you will certainly be known as the value creator or the value managers. and I call this the 5-star CFO. Yeah, so the version 5.0 or the 5-point CFO. And my intention and what I am trying to evolve with my people is for everybody to reach this aspect of 5-star F&A professional. If on one hand you have financial excellence or your functional excellence, and on the other hand you have business acumen. If you understand the business very well and you are a financial acumen, what you will caught at the top corner of high in both places will be value creators. And that's where I want us to position ourselves in this corner. Does it make sense? Yeah? So conceptually this is what we want to do, and to become future ready in this VUCA world, there is only one solution, that we must push the entire band to become 5-star CFO and 5-star financial professionals. Okay? And the question is that it is easier said than done. If this is what it is, how do we face this? What is the mantra, yantra and tantra? And I said I'll define these terms in English. Yeah? So first is mantra is in a sense combination of words chanted in a particular order, yeah, so that you will get the desired result. In simple word, I'll put it, it's your mission and your vision statement. So it is what your dream, it's what you want to be. Yeah, you keep saying it. Yeah, dreams become vision, and then vision with action becomes, yeah, achievement. So this is what the mantra that you want. And if you look at the mantra that we do, we must recognize this is what we are, ICE. And when I say ICE, this is what the future is going to look like, exactly like this. Innovation and adaptability of ICE is what going to define functions and companies which are going to win versus others which are going to lose. And what are the two parameters on which is going to be very different is climate change. Climate change is going to define business models again and again, like you will never understand who is doing what. Whether Alibaba will be doing insurance business, or banking business, or who will do what. Or Google will do automobile business. I don't know. So this is the kind of climate change that is happening. Tomorrow, we made a bet in a company called Reva, an electric car company, and we are struggling heavily. Why we are doing this? Is it right to do it? It is because we know the climate change is there. It's going to impact businesses. Tomorrow, conventional fuel systems may not be the answers. So how do we make ourselves prepared for tomorrow? So that's the C, climate change. But remember this, climate change also, in the climate is both external and internal. Tomorrow, we may find Saumen and myself may be the only people coming to office, because traveling has become such a big issue that everybody wants to work from home. It's possible. So that's an internal climate change which may happen. But more importantly, just look at this. If people, because the climate change and the things are happening and people are going to live for about 150 years, what's the kind of business model you must have in Dr. Reddy's in order to deal with that kind of life expectancy? It's changing. It's dramatically changing. Already, 60 was a great thing. We had in South, in Tamil especially, a remarriage at 60. Why? Because we thought you're done a lifetime. But now 60 is no more a lifetime. You maybe probably 80. Yeah? Okay? So things are changing dramatically. And the last one is e-commerce, as it was said, but it is not e-commerce anymore. E-commerce is about digital commerce, but what I am saying, the future is going to be experiential commerce. What I mean by experiential commerce is, you bring two things together, the brick and the click. The click is going to be the one which is digitally going to wrap around our businesses to deliver. I mean, I hope digitally we cannot manufacture still. We still need brick. Digitally we cannot still physically supply things, right? Maybe one day you will have that old, that thing, you put a stuff there, Dr. Reddy's package here, it just beam and beam to the other place. It will happen, but not today. It will take some time. But even then, the guy who is receiving it will physically receive it, right? So there are many aspects for it. So my thing is, customer needs experience, and he is looking for good experience. And that experience that he wants to have will need experiential commerce, commerce which is supported by digital but not a slave of digital. What do I do when a retail guy sends me, this suit one day before, and it turns out to be absolutely wrong? I can return it, but then what happens to this meeting? So we need experiential commerce so that we don't forget that there is a need for everything, and therefore that need will kind of phase out. So that's the ICE or ICE that I talked about. Okay. So so that's the kind of things. In a different sense, what we need is to understand that the future is going to be very, very different than what the past was. Then the yantra is refers that devices that are used for balancing of mind. Okay, are just put simplistically, devices is equal to initiatives. So that's the yantra that you need to use. And we in M&M are using this, and in FNA I am using these two initiatives, House of Excellence and Finance Academy. Okay, and this House of Excellence, I'll define in a little bit. Yeah. So it is, you all know, somewhere when I was introduced, they said we are taking effort how M&M will achieve its vision of being one of the most admired global brands. That's the vision that we all put together for M&M as a group. If that is so, what I said is, how do we in FNA and being one of the most admired global finance and accounts function? So at least let me put that as a thought, so that I am competing with the best in the world. So, and then we put 7 frameworks, and I will talk a little bit about this, which becomes the foundation, the pillars and the roof. Okay? And you will find all 7 of them are mundane things, things that we do day in, day out. But when put together, they become magic. Yeah? As they say in Hindi, शौकियों में घोला जाए फूलों का शबाब, उसमें फिर मिलाई जाए थोड़ी सी शराब, होगा यूं नशा जो तैयार वो प्यार है. Okay, so just for the people who didn't follow Hindi, so it is just saying that if you put a little bit of these great ingredients together, what you'll get out of is a fruit of love. Yeah, and that's what we are attempting to do it. Okay. Thank you. Okay, so let me talk about these in terms of these 7 verticals. In MIS and reporting, what we want to do is to get insightful and right information at the right time for decision making across all the areas and geography. In terms of risk management, it's enabling optimization of risk return paradigm. It is not avoiding, it is not minimizing risk. Please understand the difference between the two. FNA function is not to minimize the risk, is to enable optimization of risk return paradigm, culture and differentiator. Yeah, so and I brought in 2 words, culture and differentiator, because the risk return paradigm is in many forms and ways, and all of them it should be able to do. Then regulatory compliance. Today, yesterday you did some quality stuff, right? So what I am saying is, in regulatory compliance, it should be error free every time, for all time, and it should be beyond 6 sigma. So that's the kind of thing that we do. It was a very interesting fact that when some Japanese manufacturers were asked to send stuff to USA, and this was an auto company which GM wrote to them saying, you are allowed 2 faulty parts every 10,000. But the way they wrote it is 2 faulty parts are required every 10,000. So the Japanese manufacturers manufactured and sent and wrote a mail. We said, I don't understand what you guys are speaking. I couldn't understand what these 2 What are you going to do with 2 faulty parts? But we manufactured 10,000 good parts and manufactured 2 faulty parts to your specification of faulty and sending them separately so that you will never use it and get, customer will suffer. So it is not 2 or 10,000, maybe 6 sigma, but it is not it's a mindset of saying I will be error free. Here, and just understand, we will make one mistake, and you are in an industry where this is draconian. A small mistake may cause all the harm. All the good work can be undone by it. So for us, we equally are important, and that's why we said it should be beyond 6 sigma. Cost leadership is in our DNA. It should be in our thoughts and deeds. Okay? But cost leadership, which is out of labor cost, is a mirage. That is not the reason why we should have cost leadership. We should have innovation cost leadership. Our innovation arbitrage, because some of the best minds in the world are arguably Indians. Yeah, I'm not saying anybody else is less, but I'm saying we rate amongst the best. How do we get leverage of cost? Because we are leveraging the cost leadership through innovation. If somebody manufactures, GM does a car in 2 billion, I made Scorpio in 160 million. How do I continue to do that? And that's where our cost leadership will come and sustain. Okay? Business partnership, and this is a very important thing when I talked about value creators. I just said counsel without fear as a slogan. Counsel without fear. When it comes to any problem, point out all the mistakes. Because at the time of proposal, nobody wants to hear bad news. They think their idea is the best idea in the world. So you counsel without fear. Don't worry if you are going to be shot down. Do it. And that's one thing. But once the decision is taken, then you change gears. Assist without restraint. At that time, you don't say, oh, but you know what, I already said this won't work. I've told this some time back, it's not working now. But if it's not working now, it is as much your fault as anybody else's. So at that time, assist without restraint. Counsel without fear and assist without restraint. And that's our business partnership model. And people will love you for both these aspects. Okay? And functional expertise, and this is one thing again I say, that it is a time when thought leaders and influencers today and tomorrow should come from our functions, and our functional expertise should be made like this. So each one of us need to think, how do we, there is in quality a thing known as enhancement of the function. So how I get new learnings into place. Similarly, I want FNA to start thinking in the quality way, and this is the challenge I have given. I've got 100 people from my company should be in FNA, should be able to contribute articles to leading publications where they add to existing knowledge or create new knowledge. Challenge why credit rating should be different. Challenge why WACC should be, weighted average cost of capital should be seen differently by India. Think about many such things, but create expertise. Yeah? And human resource, I said this is a journey. I've just tried to kind of instigate people by seeing this is a journey from being CAO to CFO, Chief Accounts Officer to Chief Financial Officer. So just to say what is the kind of journey you want to make, to become key influencers and help in strategy formulation. Okay? And I'll give you one small glimpse of what we are doing in each of this. This section I am going to share what we are doing. I am going to tom-tom. It's not an intent to kind of create, but to share with you what we are doing. Okay? So one of the things in business partnership is called CFO plus track. What we are trying to do is to get EEE, education, exposure and experience, so that faster we can make people head functions. So people who come to this has to be below 35 years of age, and we are taking them through the process. We have put 10 candidates through this process a year ago. Within 9 months of the program being in place, 9 out of 10 people are now either deputy CFOs or CFOs in various organizations. So this is a big benefit that we have got out of launching this STAR initiative, as we call it. In terms of the functional expertise, we are trying to kind of define skill and job metrics and identify mismatches and then do reallocation and therefore formulate a job rotation policy. This will help us move people around and do whatever is already a benchmark. In M&M, F&A function, nobody does the same job after 5 years at any level, all levels, and this will further move it to this. Now, in terms of HR, there are two initiatives that we are doing. First is the talent dashboard, where I have across, we have about 1500, 1600 F&A people across the group. I have a view of everybody as a part of a talent dashboard that I have. The second one is much more, to me, much more transformational. What we are now approaching is called M-Star Trek. I told you 5-star finance professionals. How to do that is an M-Star Trek. So we have got a laddered approach where people will go through lifelong learning. So I will every time, every level, whether it's we have operational, managerial, departmental heads, executive and strategic. Each of the level, people will undergo generic training and then they can undergo specific training. This is called the ladder approach, and they will kind of accumulate points every time. And the overall points of learning will determine what is the level of learning they've had in the organization. Okay? So what we will do is we'll give a series of certifications to them, and we will have this predication which goes from being the base accounts function to being business leader, and the last one is helping him being a reflective leader at the top end. And they will have mandatory modules, master class as we call it, HR module, and then we will have certification process through an evaluation how they are progressing to this. So this we have already had now 1.5 years of progression, and we are very, very kicked about how this will help us achieve. Okay? And that's the role on that. Moving to cost leadership, what we are trying to say is that we would like to initiate some action which makes us continue the journey of cost leadership by 2021. Okay? And these are the things that we are doing. Cost control dashboard, to saying each of this element, how do we make decision making at the point when things are, decision is being taken, not afterwards. And this is what is being done here. And that's the kind of thing which is that personal cost dashboard, total spend. How will we spend analytics people are talking about. And there was a guy who came and said, we can do spend analytics for you. I said, okay, do it. And then he came back to me and said, boss, you are much ahead of what we are trying to tell you. So I told my guys, now you find somebody who is ahead of us so that we can move to the next ladder. So that's the kind of thing. And what it needs is give the power to the operating management. Okay? Now, in terms of regulatory compliance, and this must be bothering you a lot, we have an e-compliance portal where my certificate comes out of this system. So the system generates a CFO certificates now every quarter. Okay? The big issue is not this is possible. The big issue is how do I keep updating everything at all point. More importantly, how do I make sure that I do not taking away either empowerment or accountability from each of the functional guys. So they should continue to be responsible for it, and this is what we are doing. Risk management, we run a program called Play to Win. We are asking every CEO of a division and the CFO to go through this together so that they know how to maximize output through taking calculated risks. So, you will have somebody called Vikram come and talk to us about, how to do scenario planning in an oil industry. Vikram Mehta was the chairman of Shell. So similarly, every major one would kind of give it, and the 2-day program which we do will help everyone look at a paradigm of risk in a way that it helps you. So that's what we are trying to do. Okay? And the last one is I talked about, which is in terms of MIS. MIS seems like management information system, looks like very mundane, but what we are trying to do is to avoid all PPTs, no Excel. It will come straight from ERP into click view and then will get presented as an output automatically. Nobody intervening. And that's what we are going towards, so that the review with the CEO gets run through that process. So that everything is automated, no wastage of time doing it, only spend time analyzing what is coming out of it. Okay? And what we therefore want to build is a finance academy. Excellence for the function, acumen for all. So on one hand, we want to train every F&A function guy to be excellent, but we also want to give the world, the entire M&M group, financial modules which will help them have good financial appreciation. And those are the kind of things that we are doing. On the top, one of the things that I've started is that why should R&D only have? You call them engineers and scientists. I also want to have CAs and PhDs. So the first one on top, therefore, is called the PhD program, where I'm the first guinea pig. So I am going along with my colleague, the first PhD program. But what we are saying is that 5 to 10 people every year should, or every 2 years should start pitching for it, so that then they are then referred as experts. There is certain amount of research orientation which is required. So that's what we are doing. But there are other programs which we'll talk about in terms of classroom, e-learning, finance for finance, yeah, and the entire journey, what we call as lifelong journey of education, experience, and exposure. Okay. The tantra, the last part, we had now mantra, yantra, now tantra. Tantra is rituals and meditation acts to get freedom from uncontrollably recurring problems. If something is happening again and again wrong, then how do you set them right? So this is the tantra. And I have a simple 3 theory that I want to share with you in terms of what does this mean. Okay? Jignesh, just check for time. Half an hour is there. Okay. So I need to finish this in 5 minutes so that I give you the promised 25 minutes instead of 30. So simplicity, synergy, and digitalization. So the future is going to be of someone which is using these 3 principles. The first one is about simplicity. Please understand my way of thinking about this is simplicity is not avoiding complexity. Simplicity is not just saying, just forget about everything, just do something simple. No. Every organization has deep complexities, and we must respect why that complexity exists. But what is simple? Can you give to the customer a simple answer, a simple way of connecting? Keep all the problems to yourself. The customer gets a simple interface of saying, how do I make time with you? Okay? Let me tell you about this. This is a Lord Shiva, an Indian mythological god, and he is one of the famous Trimurtis that we have, 3 major gods. So once what happened is that the entire demigods and gods were trying to get nectar from the ocean. They were doing a great manthan, as it's called, as churning the ocean to get the nectar. But what actually happened, first, while the nectar was being taken, what came out is poison. The first round only poison came. So what the entire people who are churning were all very hassled because the poison is going to consume and kill them. That's what was in front of them. So Lord Shiva came to the rescue. He took that poison and drank. Until today it is said that his neck, it's blue because of the poison he consumed. I'm not talking about mythology. I'm talking about each one of you being that Neelkant for simplicity's sake. You take care of all the poison, drink it, keep it up to your neck, and deliver nectar deliver Amrut to all your customers. And that, to my mind, is simplicity. So whenever you have this kind of thought process, think about what are the connects, what are the ways you want to go in front of you, and you will find that. And I found something which is that simply if you do it, my South Indian accent coming over, simply if you do it completely, you will lose it. Okay, so don't do it simply. Simplicity is a way of engaging with the customer and taking out unnecessary complications. If you can do with 10, instead of 10 form with 1 form, do with it. Yeah? But don't take out checks and balances that you have. Don't take out from the background complexity. Okay? And this is an interesting one, why it is important. So Abraham Lincoln, and this is one of my favorite ones. Abraham Lincoln once said, "I'm sorry I'm writing such a long letter because I didn't have enough time. Because I didn't have enough time, I'm passing the complexity to you. You guys deal with it. I'm written a 10-page long letter, you find out what is the meaning from it." Had I thought through, had I spent time, had I analyzed, I could have written you a 2-line letter which would have been very easy for you to understand, but I didn't do it. Okay? So that's the thing. The second is about synergy. There's a movie, Chak De. This is an Hindi movie. How many of you have seen this? Reasonably good. And the few of your colleagues who have not seen, you must explain. But simply, what was happening is that 2 forwards in the hockey were both of them very good players, one of the best in the world. But because both of them wanted to individually shine, India was losing that match, or matches. And then the coach explains to them, which is in the second one, saying if you become together, 1 + 1 must mean more than just 2. And what they then do is they recognize that synergy is about understanding the other person, understanding the aspirations, the problems of the other person, and it starts with leaders. So the 2 forwards come together, and that the team wins the match. And that is the story of synergy that's being told in that particular thing. What we need to do is to have each one of us are playing a match in this world. Each function is playing this match. We are playing it with us, with our teams, with our company's team, and what we need is to align this as simply as it's put there. It's not easy. You don't know when the synergy starts, where it's ends. I'm not here to tell how it is possible, but when you put your mind to it and say, I will, by listening, get more, this is what you will get.